A final practical reason women may grow to dislike or resent their husbands as they age is the loss of shared interests. At the beginning of a relationship, couples often bond over common goals, hobbies, or dreams, whether it's raising a family, building careers, traveling, or simply enjoying time together. These shared activities create connection and a sense of partnership. However, as life progresses, many couples drift apart, with husbands and wives developing separate routines and interests. This widening gap can leave women feeling isolated and disconnected, turning companionship into cohabitation. In middle age, the demands of work, children, and household responsibilities often push couples to focus more on survival than on shared enjoyment. Husbands may throw themselves into careers or personal hobbies, while wives may dedicate their time to children and family management. Although these roles keep the household functioning, they often come at the cost of shared experiences. Once children are grown and responsibilities lessen, the lack of common ground becomes glaringly obvious. For women, this disconnection can feel particularly frustrating. Many wives enter later life expecting to finally enjoy quality time with their husbands, traveling, pursuing hobbies, or simply engaging in meaningful conversation. When their husbands instead retreat into television, golf, or solitary routines, women may feel disappointed and even abandoned. The realization that they no longer have anything in common creates a sense of emotional distance. Loss of shared interests also undermines intimacy and companionship. Without activities that bring joy or spark conversation, daily life becomes monotonous. Women may begin to see their husbands as mere roommates rather than partners, sharing a house but not a life. This lack of connection breeds boredom, irritation, and eventually resentment. Compounding the problem, some men resist change or dismiss their wives' attempts to rekindle shared activities. A woman who suggests traveling, learning something new, or attending social events may face indifference or reluctance from her husband. This refusal to engage deepens the divide, leaving her feeling unimportant and stifled. By later life, the absence of shared interests can make women question the purpose of the marriage itself. Without common ground, they may feel lonelier with their husbands than they would on their own. This emotional isolation, built over years of diverging paths, fuels dislike and dissatisfaction. Ultimately, the loss of shared interests is not about hobbies, it's about connection. When couples stop building experiences together, the bond weakens. For many women, this slow drift apart becomes one of the most painful and practical reasons they grow resentful toward their husbands with age. A very practical reason many women begin to resent or dislike their husbands with age is the strain caused by financial stress or financial mismatches within the marriage. Money is not just about bills or bank accounts, it represents security, freedom, and the ability to plan for the future. When couples do not share financial responsibility equally, or when husbands mismanage money, the burden often falls heavily on wives, breeding long-term frustration and resentment. In many marriages, women find themselves balancing dual roles, contributing financially while also managing household expenses and budgets. Even when husbands are primary earners, women often act as the financial managers, keeping track of bills, planning for children's needs, and monitoring daily spending. If husbands are careless with money, overly controlling, or disengaged from these responsibilities, women may feel trapped in an unfair arrangement. Financial mismatches between partners also play a major role. Some men prioritize personal desires, spending on hobbies, gadgets, or lifestyle upgrades, while women may focus on practical necessities like household stability, children's education, or retirement savings. This difference in priorities can create repeated conflict. Over time, women may feel their husbands are irresponsible or immature, forcing them to compensate for poor financial decisions. As couples age, financial issues become sharper. Women may recognize that years of uneven saving, reckless spending, or lack of planning have compromised their security in later life. For instance, if a husband fails to save adequately for retirement, the wife may feel the weight of financial anxiety at an age when stability should be the goal. Similarly, debt accumulated during earlier years may continue to loom, restricting lifestyle choices and straining the relationship. In some cases, the financial mismatch lies not in spending habits but in control. Husbands who dominate financial decisions without transparency or collaboration can leave their wives feeling powerless. This dynamic not only creates distrust but also undermines the sense of equality in the marriage. The emotional cost of financial stress is significant. Women may feel their sacrifices, working long hours, cutting personal expenses, or compromising on dreams, were not matched by their husband's efforts. By later life, this can turn into deep resentment, as they realize financial instability or lost opportunities could have been avoided with more shared responsibility. Ultimately, financial stress or mismatch is not just about money, it's about fairness, responsibility, and trust. When women feel they have carried too much of the financial weight or suffered due to their husband's poor decisions, dislike often replaces partnership, especially in older age. Another practical reason women may grow to dislike their husbands as they get older is the gradual decline of intimacy in the relationship. Intimacy is more than just physical closeness, it includes emotional connection, affection, tenderness, and a sense of being desired. Over time, many couples let this aspect of their marriage fade, and women often feel the loss more acutely, leading to dissatisfaction and resentment. In the early years of marriage, intimacy is usually abundant, there are frequent expressions of affection, sexual connection, and emotional closeness. But as life fills with responsibilities, raising children, managing finances, dealing with careers, intimacy can slip down the list of priorities. Husbands may assume that sex alone defines intimacy, while wives often crave a broader spectrum, simple acts like holding hands, meaningful conversations, small compliments, or shared laughter. When these gestures disappear, women may feel invisible and unloved. Physical intimacy itself also tends to decline with age, often due to stress, health issues, or lack of effort. For many women, the problem is not just the reduced frequency of sex but the loss of passion and effort from their husbands. When intimacy feels routine, transactional, or absent altogether, it creates a void. Women may interpret this as rejection or neglect, which erodes self-esteem and diminishes the bond. Emotional intimacy is equally critical. Many women report that their husbands stop opening up emotionally over the years, retreating into silence, hobbies, or routines. Without this sharing, the relationship begins to feel more like a practical arrangement than a romantic partnership. Women often carry the desire for deeper emotional connection, and when it goes unmet, they may feel profoundly alone, even within the marriage. The lack of intimacy also reinforces other sources of resentment. For example, if a woman already feels unappreciated, overburdened with household labor, or unsupported emotionally, the absence of intimacy compounds the sense of imbalance. She may come to view her husband less as a partner and more as a roommate, someone who shares a home but not closeness or passion. By later life, the decline in intimacy can become stark. With children grown and external responsibilities reduced, couples face each other directly. If intimacy has long been neglected, women may realize that little remains to sustain affection. Instead of companionship and closeness, they feel distance, disappointment, and even dislike. Ultimately, declining intimacy is not just about aging bodies, it is about neglecting the small daily gestures of love and connection that keep a marriage alive. Without them, women often grow resentful, feeling abandoned in one of the most essential dimensions of partnership. One of the most practical reasons women begin to dislike their husbands as they get older is the gradual breakdown of communication within the marriage. Strong communication is the foundation of any lasting partnership, but many couples, over years of daily routines and responsibilities, fall into patterns of silence, avoidance, or miscommunication. This erosion often leaves women feeling unheard, misunderstood, or emotionally isolated, which naturally leads to resentment. Early in a marriage, couples may talk frequently, share dreams, and openly discuss feelings. However, as life gets busier, between raising children, building careers, and managing households, communication often shifts from meaningful conversation to transactional exchanges. What's for dinner? Did you pay the bill? Pick up the kids at 5. These practical interactions, while necessary, leave little room for deeper emotional connection. Over decades, this creates distance. For many women, the problem is not just the lack of conversation but the lack of emotional listening. Husbands may dismiss their concerns, interrupt, or offer solutions instead of empathy. Women often seek to be heard and validated, while men may focus on efficiency or problem-solving, unintentionally leaving their partners feeling disregarded. This mismatch in communication styles, if left unaddressed, creates frustration and loneliness within the relationship. As couples age, communication breakdown becomes even more visible. With children grown and careers stabilizing, partners spend more time together, but if their communication habits have eroded, the silence becomes harder to ignore. Women may realize that despite decades of marriage, they cannot confide in or truly connect with their husbands. This realization is painful and fuels the sense of being emotionally alone, even while living under the same roof. Additionally, unresolved conflicts play a major role. Many couples sweep disagreements under the rug to avoid fights, but unspoken issues build up over years. Resentments about household labor, finances, or unmet emotional needs accumulate like layers of dust, creating an atmosphere of tension. Without healthy communication, these issues never get resolved, leaving women simmering with unspoken anger. By later life, the absence of open dialogue often translates into disconnection. Women may stop trying to share feelings, stop expecting understanding, and emotionally disengage from their husbands altogether. At that stage, dislike replaces intimacy, not because of one big fight, but because of countless missed opportunities to talk, listen, and connect. In short, communication breakdown is not about arguments, it's about silence, dismissal, and neglect. Over time, this lack of meaningful interaction becomes one of the strongest reasons women lose affection and grow resentful toward their husbands. A fourth practical reason many women grow to dislike or resent their husbands as they age is the lack of appreciation they feel for their lifelong contributions. Throughout marriage, women often devote enormous time and energy to managing households, raising children, supporting careers, and providing emotional and physical care. Yet, these efforts frequently go unnoticed or are taken for granted. Over decades, this absence of recognition can create a deep sense of being undervalued, which erodes affection and respect. The problem is rooted in familiarity. When certain responsibilities, such as preparing meals, keeping the house in order, or remembering family obligations, are consistently carried out by one partner, they become invisible. Husbands may assume these tasks just get done without recognizing the effort, planning, and sacrifices behind them. What starts as small oversights accumulate into years of silent neglect, leaving women feeling unseen. Appreciation is not only about spoken gratitude but also about acknowledgement through actions. A husband who fails to share the workload, ignores his wife's needs, or dismisses her contributions communicates, whether intentionally or not, that her efforts are less important. Over time, this creates a dynamic where women feel like background workers in their own families rather than equal partners. As women grow older, the lack of appreciation becomes more glaring. They often look back and realize how much of their energy was invested in supporting others, children, husbands, and extended family, while their own achievements or sacrifices went unrecognized. For example, a woman who put her career on hold to raise children may later feel bitterness if her husband never expressed gratitude for the trade-off. Similarly, when husbands expect care in older age without acknowledging decades of past sacrifices, wives may feel exploited rather than loved. Psychologically, appreciation is vital for maintaining closeness in a relationship. Feeling valued fosters intimacy, trust, and goodwill, while lack of appreciation breeds resentment and distance. A woman who constantly feels unacknowledged is less likely to express affection, invest emotionally, or maintain a sense of partnership. By the time couples reach later life stages, the cumulative absence of gratitude may harden into disengagement. Women may withdraw emotionally, stop making efforts to please their husbands, or even fantasize about life without them. Thus, the lack of appreciation, though subtle and gradual, is a powerful force that contributes to women disliking their husbands more as they age. As couples age, another very practical reason women may begin to dislike or resent their husbands is the disproportionate share of caregiving responsibilities that falls on their shoulders. Caregiving comes in many forms: raising children, supporting elderly parents, and eventually caring for a spouse as health declines. Across these stages, women are far more likely than men to step into the primary caregiver role, often without negotiation or recognition. In early and midlife, women typically manage the bulk of childcare tasks: feeding, scheduling doctor visits, helping with schoolwork, managing social activities, and being the go-to parent for emotional crises. While many husbands may participate, they often take on narrower, less time-intensive roles, leaving women to juggle the ongoing, daily responsibilities. Even when both partners work, women are expected to prioritize family needs, which limits their time for personal growth, career advancement, or rest. As parents age, the pattern frequently repeats. Daughters are far more likely than sons to take on the responsibility of elder care, and within a marriage, wives often become the default caregivers for both their own parents and their in-laws. This creates a sandwich generation burden, where women are simultaneously caring for children and aging relatives, while their husbands may provide limited or peripheral support. Later in life, the imbalance becomes even sharper. Statistically, women tend to outlive men, and husbands are more likely to experience chronic health problems earlier. This means many wives end up serving as their husband's primary caregivers, managing medications, assisting with mobility, and overseeing medical appointments. While women are expected to fulfill this role with devotion, the reverse is less common: men are less likely to provide the same level of care if their wives fall ill. Research consistently shows that women who become seriously ill often receive less spousal support compared to men in the same situation. This lifelong pattern leaves many women feeling drained and undervalued. They may perceive their husbands as additional dependents rather than partners, people they must look after instead of equals who share the load. Over decades, this imbalance builds resentment. By the time they reach older age, many women feel they have given more care than they have ever received, leading to emotional distance and disillusionment in the marriage. In essence, caregiving responsibilities highlight an unfair reality: women are conditioned to be the caregivers at every stage of life, while men are conditioned to receive care. This persistent inequality can erode affection and deepen dissatisfaction, leaving women weary and frustrated with their husbands as they grow older. Another core reason many women grow to dislike or resent their husbands over time is the unequal distribution of emotional labor. Emotional labor refers to the invisible and often unacknowledged effort of managing the feelings, moods, and social dynamics within a family. While men may contribute financially or practically, women are frequently expected to carry the emotional weight of the relationship and household. From remembering birthdays, anniversaries, and school events to smoothing over family conflicts and ensuring children feel supported, women often take on the role of emotional manager. They are expected to anticipate the needs of their children, aging parents, and even their husbands, offering comfort, encouragement, and empathy. In contrast, many men grow accustomed to being on the receiving end of this care without realizing how much energy it consumes. This imbalance can be especially draining because emotional labor is constant and invisible. Unlike doing the dishes or mowing the lawn, it cannot be easily measured or checked off a list. Instead, it requires mental vigilance, patience, and compassion day after day. Over the years, women may feel their husbands do not reciprocate the same level of emotional support. For example, when wives are stressed or struggling, husbands might dismiss their feelings, offer quick fixes instead of listening, or fail to notice altogether. This lack of reciprocity reinforces the sense of imbalance. As women age, the cumulative toll becomes more evident. They may realize they have spent decades being the emotional anchor of the family, while their own needs for comfort and understanding went unmet. In later years, when children leave home and external responsibilities lessen, many women look inward and recognize how little emotional nurturing they have received in return. The result is often disillusionment, disappointment, and resentment toward their husbands. Moreover, the imbalance in emotional burden is not just about feelings, it shapes the very quality of the relationship. A partnership thrives on mutual understanding, empathy, and shared responsibility for each other's well-being. When one partner consistently carries this load, it undermines intimacy and deep connection. Husbands who fail to engage emotionally can come to feel like distant roommates rather than true life partners. Ultimately, the emotional burden imbalance is a practical yet profound reason why women may dislike their husbands more with age. It reflects years of giving without receiving, listening without being heard, and caring without equal care in return, a slow erosion of respect and affection that leaves many women feeling alone in their marriages. One of the most practical and deeply felt reasons women begin to resent or dislike their husbands as they grow older is the unequal division of household labor. In many households, even when both partners work outside the home, women tend to take on a disproportionate share of domestic duties. These duties are not limited to visible chores like cooking, cleaning, or laundry, but also extend to the invisible mental load of organizing, planning, and ensuring the household runs smoothly. Over years, this imbalance becomes a source of quiet frustration that can evolve into significant resentment. The problem often begins early in a marriage or partnership, when societal norms, upbringing, or assumptions about gender roles dictate that women naturally take care of the home. Men may contribute, but often in limited, task-specific ways, such as mowing the lawn or handling occasional repairs, while women are responsible for the ongoing, never-ending cycle of daily chores. Unlike a one-time repair, cooking, cleaning, or laundry is repetitive, thankless work that never really ends. As couples age, the weight of this imbalance grows heavier. Many women continue to balance careers with household management, yet do not feel equal support from their husbands. The issue is not always about men refusing to help but about the unequal default expectations. For instance, a husband may wait to be asked to take on a task, whereas the wife feels responsible for noticing and planning without prompting. This constant mental labor of organizing, delegating, and anticipating needs becomes exhausting. Over time, women may perceive their husbands less as partners and more as an additional responsibility. If husbands fail to recognize or actively correct the imbalance, the wife may feel unappreciated, undervalued, and taken for granted. What could have been a partnership becomes more like a manager-subordinate relationship, where the wife manages the home and the husband merely assists occasionally. In later life stages, especially after children are grown, women often reflect on the decades of carrying this extra burden. Instead of feeling relief, many realize the imbalance has cost them personal time, freedom, and sometimes career opportunities. The sense of having given more than their partner over a lifetime fosters bitterness. Ultimately, unequal household labor is not just about chores, it represents fairness, respect, and shared responsibility. When these are missing, love and affection can erode, leaving women increasingly dissatisfied with their husbands as they age together.